Tomorrow we get unemployment numbers and non-farm payrolls, and what I'm seeing in front of me now is kind of scary. If you go back, this is the second video I've made today. I go more in depth of what I think is going to happen, but right now I am getting a triple divergence on TLT, which inversely relates to the 10-year yield. So the 10-year yield could pop higher in the short term. And what I overall want to warn you about, big warning, is tomorrow we could see numbers posted that shake the market one way or the other. Now, from what I'm seeing right now, this could lead to a pullback, in my opinion, at the very least, just because of how elevated other stocks are. But right now, TLT looks like it is about to possibly break through this wedge. And if the numbers are bad tomorrow, this thing could get vigorous to the downside, which would mean we would see yields raising quickly to the upside. Here's the 10-year yield, and this thing could pop pretty quickly. As we're seeing on the MACD, we're slowing to the downside, and every single low is getting smaller, which could mean just we're coiling up and we're ready for a big move. I originally thought that this most likely comes down into its rising channel, which is this line right here, and then we raise all the way back up above these levels. But it looks like tomorrow could be enough of a catalyst to possibly even shake this all the way past the previous high. So be very aware of that, set your limits, and make sure you're aware of what news is going on. One of the stocks that is really enjoying that lower 10-year yield is Apple. And Apple is just ripping right now to the upside. You can see there's barely any pullbacks. We have one here, and then it's just launching. So what I would like to see and what I think might happen from tomorrow's numbers is the numbers may come in not the best for the market, and that will cause the market to want to pull back into these areas where we will find possible buyers, and then reattach to these moving averages and then extend up into the gap fill. So I do believe that we still have a little more upside left, possibly up into the gap fill. I could be wrong. Tomorrow's data could shake the market completely, but I see a slightly bad number for the market coming out that kind of spooks some people. Then we go and find some buyers. We create a nice divergence right around the core inflation numbers coming out, which happens to be this red line right here across my screen. That is Wednesday, the 13th of September. Mark that date on your calendars, because I think that is going to be the day that truly shakes this market and wakes people up, raises those interest rates. Right now, people think that the Federal Reserve isn't going to raise rates or they're going to keep things paused. And I just think that's plain wrong. The Federal Reserve is actually, Jerome Powell's coming out and he is telling you that we are willing to raise rates if the data shows us that we need to, which just means I think he knows that inflation is going to rear its ugly head one more time, if not two more times over the next couple months. That is really going to surprise this market because we are way overextended to the upside. This AI bubble has really put us in a bad spot, and we could see this thing crash faster than anything you've seen in the last 2 years. So pay attention, mark your calendars for Wednesday the 13th, because that's when the big data is going to drop. And look for any pullbacks in the meantime, because there could be some a little bit more of upside. So set your stop losses, make sure you have everything balanced, maybe take some money off of the table if you are in the green, and just see how tomorrow plays out. I will pull up the Qs just real quick because they look like they're pretty much testing that trend line that goes all the way back to January that this whole big bubble has been following. And it is starting to hesitate around its first big test, which is that gap resistance area right in here. So I still overall believe that people might see this as, oh, everything's going down because the put call level is very high. This will then come back down into this area, find some buyers along this little support here, and then we will launch maybe up into the upside and even tagging that part right here, which is another retest of that trend line. We then match, or at least we fill this. We possibly come up to the high here, and then we start to see a crash happen. And I think people will be shocked. I can't say that enough. This is a fair warning. Stocks could go a little bit higher. They could pull back in the short term, then go up in the shorter term, and then we could see the whole rug pulled. No one is convinced that this thing can come down anymore, and that's when the real danger is in the sky. Lastly, the VIX. The VIX has officially filled this gap on a complete daily basis. The only thing that I said in my videos is it could come down to test these lows. I really am starting to think that coming all the way down to around a level of 10 would be mm, less probable at this point because of how much the market can be shaken up by tomorrow's numbers. So if anything, I see this possibly maybe the correct move here is it pulls back into this small trend line, and then we pull back down, we test these lows right around, oh, look at that, Wednesday, September 13th, which is when the inflation data comes out, and we see this thing rip. And when I say rip, I think it's going to rip above 20 and stay there for weeks. Okay, so make sure you guys are being very careful with your money. Stay in tune with the stuff that's going on around you with the rates and all that kind of stuff, and make sure to pay attention to those numbers in the morning because it is very important. And we're seeing some setups here that are kind of hinting that tomorrow's data is going to be bad. And the only thing that we have to dictate is it bad enough to just get a pullback, or is it bad enough to completely tear down the market? If you found any of this helpful, or if you want me to go in more in depth, please let me know anything you want in the comments, and then please like and subscribe if you found anything in this video helpful, okay? Have a good day. Peace.